Hey, how's it going everyone? This is the Anime Man. So if you've been watching anime for a while now, then you would know of this pretty much oversaturated trope that you find especially in anime and is most commonly known to be a trait in anime. That trait being a tsundere. Now if you don't know what it means, then I'm sure you've at least heard of it and you know maybe some characters that come to mind when you say tsundere. So if you guys don't know, the definition of the word tsundere comes from the combination of the phrases tsuntsun, meaning to be very cold-hearted, very shallow, not very nice towards someone, and dere, meaning to be lovable, very snuggly, very cuddly. So judging from these two phrases, you can see that the word tsundere refers to a person who acts really cold towards another person on the inside, but they only do that just to cover their, love or affection towards that person because they are either shy or they have, I guess, some kind of mental problem. So you see it so often in anime, but the real question is, do tsunderes actually exist in real life? Yeah, real life, like, that thing that not many anime fans actually observe since they're stuck inside watching anime, that thing outside that thing called a window. Now in all seriousness though, I want to ask this question to you guys straight up. Do you think tsunderes exist in real life? In other words, do you think they exist outside of anime? Well, I'm here to tell you right now that the answer to that question is yes and no. Allow me to explain. Now, some people will argue that yes, tsunderes do exist in real life. There are girls and boys out there who kind of act cold or act kind of douchey towards a person that they actually like because they are shy, or they don't really want to, or they're not really comfortable with showing affection towards the person that they like, and thus they can technically be classified as a tsundere. However, you have to remember that the tsundere seen in anime are extremely exaggerated, if you didn't already figure that out for yourself. Tsunderes in anime are so exaggerated to the point where it almost looks like they have some kind of bipolar disorder. Like, there are some tsunderes that I've seen in anime who are just like so cold and so heartless towards a person, and then the next scene they are just the most loving, like the most like looking for affection kind of hungry characters that you've ever seen. And to be honest, if you don't have mental disorders such as bipolar, yeah, that shit doesn't exist naturally. I mean, sure, you could argue that there is maybe like one person out there who is naturally like this, but considering the amount of real life people who claim themselves that they are a tsundere, it's not very common. Because if you think about it, the people out there who claim themselves as a tsundere are usually viewers of anime. Otherwise they wouldn't really know the word tsundere, as the word tsundere is not used outside of the context of anime and manga. And thus, to have an understanding of the word tsundere and to kind of claim yourself as a tsundere, they need to have seen the trait, the tsundere trait, and the personality of a tsundere within anime and manga. And thus I argue that people who claim that they are themselves a tsundere aren't actually a real tsundere. I think that 99% of people out there who claim themselves to be a tsundere are merely just borrowing ideas of what they think is a tsundere and acting upon it. Because you have to remember that tsunderes in anime are a parody of the idea of tsundereness. Like, it's the parody of like an ugly or unattractive guy going towards a girl they're like, confessing their love, and then the girl going, no, I don't really want your ugly ass, go away. And then the guy telling himself and convincing himself that like, oh, she doesn't actually hate me, she's just being a tsundere, therefore I need to pursue her and I need to try harder. Sound familiar to any of you guys? So there are a lot of guys and girls who look at this trait and actually physically themselves getting attracted towards it, looking at a tsundere and being like, oh, that's actually kind of like what I do. Like, I don't like to show affection, so what I'll do instead to kind of get the attraction of the opposite sex, or whatever sex you're into, gay or straight, and I'll just act cold towards him or her so that they can see that I really actually want them, but not exactly tell them straight up. Therefore, I can be a tsundere and, obtain that boyfriend/girlfriend. In other words, there is no such thing, I believe, as an actual tsundere in the real world. So then the question comes along, then why would guys and girls who look at tsunderes in anime be attracted towards the traits of tsundere? Well, as I mentioned earlier about the ugly guy fantasizing that the girl that he actually likes is a tsundere, the trait of a tsundere is a type of fetish. As I mentioned in my earlier video discussing why people find yanderes attractive, if you guys haven't seen it, click this annotation or the links in the description below. These kinds of traits in anime, like in tsunderes and yanderes and other types of deres out there, are all types of fetishes that people get into. And the reason why more people like a tsundere personality than say a yandere personality is because the fetish that the tsundere covers is more commonly seen throughout people's personalities. The fetish concerning yanderes is a lot more niche compared to a tsundere, where more people can actually relate to that kind of personality, relate to the idea of being so shy as to not being able to express, you know, their love or affection towards another person, and thus being purposely going in the opposite direction, acting cold towards them, to give them some sort of idea or sign that they actually do have affection for them. And just to clarify, there are too many people out there who watch anime and relate it to Japan in real life. In other words, there are people out there questioning, do Japanese girls actually act like this? Well, I'm here to clarify that point to you guys right now. Anime is nothing like real life Japan. Sorry if I broke your dreams and all that kind of stuff, but if you go to Japan with the idea that Japan is even remotely close to the anime world, I'm sorry to say, but you're gonna be thoroughly disappointed. Like I said, the idea of tsunderes and even other deres like yanderes, kuderes, for example, in anime are exaggerations of real life and not a direct reflection of real people and real personalities. And to be honest, yeah, you might be attracted to these kinds of anime tsunderes, whether it be a fetish or whether you just like the character in general, but you have to remember that anime tsunderes are exactly like anime yanderes, in the respect that they're cool to observe and they're cool to kind of be loved towards from a distance, but if they exist in real life, you would want nothing to do with them. Like, you would want them to just go away. The moral of the story is, if you're the type of person who claims themselves to be a tsundere, you're actually not. I'm sorry to say. Unless you actually have some kind of bipolar disorder where that kind of switch between a cold personality and a loving personality comes naturally, then the idea of a tsundere is pretty much non-existent. What do you guys think? Do you think that tsunderes actually exist in real life, or they're nothing more than exaggerations of anime? And also, do you like tsunderes? Do you dislike tsunderes? Are you a tsundere yourself, or do you know someone who's a tsundere? I'd like to know all that kind of stuff in the comments below. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. As always, like, favorite, enjoy, subscribe for more anime, and I'll see you at the next video, whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Ciao!